living with intention in the metaverse. What does that mean to you, Fikki?
Can you hear me?
Yes, beautifully.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Paige, for putting this together. I was so moved by the last panel, and I just want to say thank you again to all of the awesome women who participated in giving their views on like these important topics. So I'm really excited about that. And when I think about intentionality, I don't know if everybody, oh, there we go. Okay. Everybody was up here. There's like a couple things that like I always think of, I think that stick out to me. And the number one, I want to say, tool to me is like a sense of like interconnectedness, like that, finding no matter what background we come from, and I don't mean this in a kumbaya way, but well, no matter where we come from, we can find something that we have in common, right? In some capacity. And so I think that that is I almost think it's a superpower. I would say that. And when we are in places like Horizons or virtual, oh, I dropped my controller, sorry. I was trying to fix that. When we're in places like Horizons, I feel like it gives us of superpowers, I guess you can say. The tools that we can use here to really connect with others and feel present and have support. And so for me, that's the thing I think of when I think of, intentionality. It reminds me of our ability to purposefully connect with others, find a way to bridge conversation or resources or support. And to me, that's what it means.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, but I really resonate with that feeling about superpowers. And it can happen through the superpower of listening and presence, that feeling of connection, but even just like in that moment of a high five together, like, and even like
Sure.
climbing buildings and jumping off huge high things, right? The fact that we can literally fly.
That's right.
Yeah. And metaphorically fly and symbolically fly, right? It's
So
more
much,
than,
yeah, it can represent so many things, whether it can be therapeutic or just an enhancement of feels entertaining, but can mean something that our imagination and whatever it is that we imagine can truly be possible here in this space. And if we can harness that superpower, we can do amazing things together.
that's right. That's right. And we've certainly seen that tonight and over this last two nights. Digital Bohemian, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the panel, Vanessa.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, thank you that I may join.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please share with us some thoughts about intentionality and from your perspective, what
Mhm.
that might mean for you.
I would join Afiki because I think it's also the thing for on the one hand to find the purpose or your own purpose here, but also I think the connection is important. Like because when you're bound to a group or be together, it can be energetic. How you say energetic for you for yourself,
Hmm.
and on the other hand, it's also the lot of words we have here. It's as I said, like when you think of to find your purpose, it's that you find maybe also the words you need at the moment which help you energize. On the one hand, you can play games, but on the other hand, you can also find your mm, maybe personal oasis or build your own personal oasis. And when you look into this world, it's also so different from the real life. So on the one hand, I think it was said before, some people build the reality like cities with skyscrapers, but on the other hand, you can let your imagination be free and your fantasy be free. And I think this is very important. For example, when you say you need grounding or earthing, it's also possible in this kind of metaverse here. And I think this will get more and more important in the real life to get these kind of personal oases to, how you say, to get calm, to chill from the real life and from the stress and anxiety, maybe also from the anger. And maybe when you're together, it gives you the energy, yeah, to get this in the real world, you know, like to live all the worries and stuff through. Or maybe also when you feel alone, that you have, that you're not alone in this kind of digital world. Yeah,
One can be alone if you choose, but
exactly.
one is really never alone here. I often say this is where the people are. This is where the
And
heart of
and
community lives. Right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
and also maybe when you connect to the people, and maybe when you have problems or struggle, then you find always support if you want to.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you so much. Um, I love that sense of support. When I'm feeling vulnerable, I know the best thing to do is actually come here and connect with a friend, right? If I'm not calling a Fikki, I'm fine looking for her in here, right? Or I'm navigating through and looking where my friends are, right? BossLeo, you know, we're from the same city, from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and um we've gone through like a lived experience of like life that only can happen in Minneapolis. I'd love for you to from it being a cold place with actual like intentional segregation through redlining and police violence through you know years I mean throughout its history of being Minneapolis, there has been like it's kind of defined in its place from it's its own kind of intentional space and the way um we've asked for more intentional accountability within our city as well impacts as well, I believe, the life that we live here. When we're in the metaverse, we're bringing in our lived experience here, and so I believe that uh, you will have like a Minneapolis influenced perspective of intentionality here as well.
That's that's a really good perspective there. And I feel like I should level set some context there too. I'm consider myself one of the transplants in Minneapolis. I'm a Southern Belle from Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
And like majority of the people who came with me from Memphis, Tennessee, well, I would say not like the majority. A lot of them left while I still stayed snowed up in my apartment. And they're all can say this one thing outside looking into Minnesota about the atmosphere and the culture there. Although it's a beautiful state with 10,000 lakes, um that culture element piece is missing. And George Floyd, what happened there, which was beautiful, well, wasn't beautiful at all. That was a complete tragedy. But the beauty hidden within that is that it revealed what Minnesota have tried for so long to hide. of all the discrepancies and what happened. And what we heard during that time of George Floyd was saying that we had enough. We need action now. Like, we're not about to allow you to do that, you know, and like, you have to be intentional because George Floyd his situation is nothing new. It's just so happened with the leverage of technology now on camera, you're seeing things for it is, and they're driving for accountability. And so when we take that perspective from George Floyd and we have technology that is saying that, hey, the world that we're going to, and when we're thinking about Web3, it's all about transparency now. It's like there's no more hidden. You're out in the open. You can say that we're about D&I, we're about inclusion, but your record is saying otherwise. We're ready to hold accountability, and we have to have ownership in that, and that is important. And so when we think about that into here in the metaverse, we have to have a little bit of more of that transparency and accountability with each other, and it's most important now. In fact, I myself, with a few creators, we talked about like about us creating our own creator code of conduct that we can hold ourselves accountable to in the community, because we cannot expect other officials who really truly don't care to do it for us. And so when we say intentional, if we love the space that we're in, we love the safeness of it and all of the potential that it has, and we're pioneering in that, we have that responsibility to set the foundation for it to grow, because if not, it's no different than what we're already currently experiencing with social media, just another tool to keep us unequal, another tool to create discrepancies and stuff. And so it really lies with you coming into this space and understanding, like, how can I create value? How can I create change into this space? How can I take something that is dear to me and bring that to this space so that we can create something? Because if not, it's just going to be another technology where it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, what's next? Type of deal there. And so that's what I would say, intentionality. And if you don't know, to those who's watching live, about like, well, the space is broad, there's still things new here. One of the best advice that a mentor of mine gave me, she said that sometimes you just have to sit back and just go with the flow of life, and that's okay. Just come into the space with an open mind, see what's possible, because that's exactly what happened to me. I came in here thinking how I can prototype for my business, and my mind has been blown completely out of here. What I really saw what this space has to offer here. So just come in here, see what people are doing, see the possibilities, and number one, know that there's enough out there for everyone. And just like that, there's enough problems for everyone as well, and where you can uniquely solve as well. So it's no more like what's in it for me. It's more how can I help and just add with my 1%. That 1% can really truly make a difference in where we at.
That 1% can change the world to be a truly better place. I believe that.
I wanted to expand on what she just said, because I think there's a few layers to, the best intentions can have not so great outcomes, right? And maybe it's not intentional because we think we know, we're passionate individuals, we're focused and confident, and these are all things that we want to continue. And I think sometimes there's a confusion that intentionality represents an aggressiveness, which can sometimes be considered a negative, right? So I think when we say intentional, we have to really think about what that means for each of us individually. And I think there's an important point that you can be so very intentional, but also be operating from a place of love. And I think there's a purity if you have the right intentions and the right, Shay's, manifesting the right things and helping others, these things tend to fall into the right place, right? And you do your best to try and focus your energy, because everything is really energy, and focus that energy on the places that you can make a positive impact. But I think when you think about your intentions, you have to remember that sometimes we are so driven that we don't always understand even what the outcome can be. And I think we have these conversations in our with our virtual world society call that we do together, is that what is the outcome? How do we measure the results of what our intentions, I guess you could say, are? Because I have been learning in my weekly calls with Dr. Angelina that I am very driven, and I'm very focused on these things I want to accomplish, and I have a pure heart. But what does that mean for my audience? And my audience can change. And what does it mean for me? Because my goals are not everybody's goals, right? And even if I come from a purest place, it may not always have the outcome that's necessarily the right outcome for all. And so how do I do that? And I think the important thing to consider is that while we have some balance of intentionality, is also to come from, again, a pure place of being open and listening. And
coming in
compassion,
here to
right?
offer, not here to teach or here to show the way.
So there's almost an intentionality of our intentionality, right? It's like there's so many layers, especially in this space. And so I just wanted to say that, but thank you for letting me give my 2 cents.
I also want to add, like, it's also about giving. Like, when, like, of course, many people have different intentions. Of course, many have maybe a business here can be, but I think the best intention is first, like, to give the people something, you know? And maybe you came in here with a total different intention, what you wanted to build or do, and then you realized it can be something else. Because I came here as an artist and to make something, to build something, and then I saw, like, the communities and the people behind, because behind every avatar is like a real person with feelings, also with intentions. And then I thought, because I do the meditations, and I thought, why not giving and not taking, like, to give the people something. So, because then it can be also a big impact of change, you know?
Absolutely.
There's one artist here, another artist on our panel, ShayArtsz, who has really made a name for herself through intentionality and giving, as Digital Bohemians was talking about. ShayArtsz, will you share with us your perspectives on living with intention in the metaverse?
I would. I'd like to start off with, when I came into Horizons, I had no intention of, like, building worlds or creating. Like, I really just came in to explore. Like, I just wanted to check out art apps. I got the headset for Gravity Sketch. But once I came into the space and started creating, especially when I came in, there was a creator culture when I came into Horizon. So if you were a world hopper, you weren't really known and whatever. If you were a world builder, then there were standards to world building. And so when I first started building, I didn't post my first, I didn't put out my first few worlds. I didn't have many friends to even tell my worlds about. But once after I did my Better World Museum, that led me to finding a culture of artists, of other people who curated art, who made art, sold art. And I got into the business of creating art assets really early in Horizons through that art connection. I want to talk about having good intentions that may not work out the best. Because when I first came in, like I said, there was a creative culture that I knew nothing about. So once I did start creating, people started like promoting my art, so that I didn't understand some of the interactions that I had with some people. I can come with the the good intention, I'm sorry, good intentions of wanting to help out with the world, and would immediately be rejected. It's like I'm just learning to build. I want to collaborate. I want to get out there, and I would be immediately told no, or we have our crowd and whatever. And this was me asking, coming into worlds like Leo said, you come and seeing these beautiful worlds, and you meet the world creator, and you're like, I want to learn building. This is beautiful. Can you teach me? And being told I don't have time and whatever, it was discouraging. What's wrong? I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
1 second. Yeah, that was you crying. There you go.
It would be horribly discouraging to be told that I don't have time, or no, or for someone just to shrug you off.
It would. So once I did get my first chance to collaborate with someone brought me in on a project on someone else's world, and I was wanted to test out my newly able scripting skills. And in the midst of that, I put the world reset button in the wrong spot, and it completely crashed her world. That was my first time ever collaborating with someone after being told no a few times beforehand, and I was devastated because I was like, "This is me trying to get out there and world build." Like, I feel like that would be a terrible way to like promote, a terrible way to be firstly newly known in this space is trying to build and collaborate. And so I managed to, I managed to find a way to duplicate the world and erase the script really quickly before everything started doing what it needed. And I gave her back her world. And I had the best intentions of coming in and help. I'm sorry, 1 second.
That's okay. That's not a distraction at all. There's been a lot of moms tonight in the two events, and that is one thing that we could even have an independent panel on itself, on like the superhuman powers that it takes to be a mom and be a VR creator and community builder.
It is. Okay. Sometimes I don't know if they're cries of laughter or cries of anger, so I have to check.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, it's a good cry. Okay, so I was devastated. I managed to get her back her world, but several weeks later, I heard that, she, had negative comments about me afterwards, even though I tried my best to restore her world and give it back. And so, from there, I was very, okay. One second.
That's okay. It's so discouraging, but I can't help but just to think about when Shay worked on the Women's Hub in Women in Horizon, and it was such a positive experience. I made you a collaborator, and I didn't think anything about it. I just had this feeling of trust, and then I came back, and what you created was magnificent. So if you haven't visited the very first original Women of the Horizon World Hub, it was like, that was before there was portals, and we would make these worlds that were hubs that had all the members of the world's doors in them. And then it became sort of like a mothership of hubs, right? So then because there was a capacity, we couldn't have that many doors in, right? But I mean,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
There's a little bit of delay on my side. I'm sorry.
No, that
I
happens.
can only imagine, as Shay is quite the reason, and I'm not just saying this to flatter her, but quite the reason I came in, just coming to explore myself because my kids were interested and they had gotten a headset. And one of the first people that I met that took me on a world hop was Shay. And we talked about her art because my kids are very interested in making things and art. And she showed me her gallery. I think it was at was that like an entertainment district? I can't remember the name of the gallery. And it had like all of your art in there. And she took me around and I was like literally in the wall looking at the art. And like just blown away, right? And thought, oh man, can I hire you to teach my kids? Do you remember that? It was like, that's all I even knew of any of this. And I was just so inspired by her. But my intentionality of that was that even myself, I can only imagine, like, we all know how great Shay is, and we've seen the incredible things she's made. But imagine an artist who didn't have enough support, that may have been discouraged because they had that same experience, and that they never picked up another controller to build again.
Right.
And that's a great travesty to me.
Oh.
Because it's not only just about actually making things. When you make something, it's an expression. It can mean so many things of healing and confidence and using your own voice or whatever it is that you're using to make sounds or create visual things to experience. And that would be so sad to me, knowing that she pushed through and she persisted.
Right.
But there's probably, for every Shay, there's probably 10 or more people who maybe didn't persist because they had those same experiences.
That's right.
And so, like, when we talk about yesterday, like the concept of what a mentor is, the concept of what a mentor is what we know it to be up until this point. But the way that we all spend time together, we have to sometimes reconstruct what things mean based on where we're at and the people we're with. And, you know, I know what it's like when you get requests on LinkedIn and social media and from strangers, and you have to, you know, maybe get to know them. There's those relationships. But in here and in certain circumstances, these micro mentor, like, let's not say that. I'm sorry. Mentoring in a moment, right? Like
mentoring in a moment. Yeah.
And even if it's just a little tidbit that we can share with somebody, sometimes the ripple is so big. Just something so simple. And really, that's what all of this is just a series of ripples, large and small, that make incredible impact. And so I think that the fact that you persisted is the reason why I'm even here, Shay. Anything in my life, right? And so everything that has happened and everything we do, there is a sense of intentionality. And obviously you were intentional and you were persistent, girl, because you did it, right? And we all are better because of it. Yeah. But imagine if we didn't have
honing my skills. It did.
Yeah. So I just want to say that because I feel that in my soul when you speak about your intentionality, because that's the reason why I'm even, you know, I know BossLeo now, and now Digital Bohemias and Viva Coach, and of course my favorite Galactic Victoria. Thank you for coming out, and Paige, and all of these people here. I now have that interaction because of our interaction and that moment of mentorship that you gave me. Yeah. So I think that shows the intentionality. It hits kind of some of the things we've been talking about in general, and I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that. The experience definitely made me be more intentional afterwards on making sure that I hone my own skills before I approached another collab. So that did make me go and, you know, just go into build mode and like teach myself my own techniques and my own style of building and creating and scripting. And I was very intentional on when I did have collabs that, you know, they would be completely open. Anything that I work on, anything that I put into the world, it was open to whoever was on the world. And that experience, it definitely was a learning lesson for me. And afterwards, I just wanted to make sure that that I continue to give the same grace that was given to me when I first met someone who actually spoke and encouraged me through a hard time. And so that experience made me be very intentional about my building and about making sure that I give the best of everything that I can and make sure that I help others out with that, especially when they first learn, when they're first starting out and they're wanting to get into building.
Love that. Yeah. Summit Sisters. Woo!
Love you all. I love you all with so much intention.